So, hello everybody, and thanks for joining. Also to my assistants and the technical gurus here in this meeting. So, the topic of today is what to do to make the users happy. So the question is, we all know SLAs, we all have them for our infrastructure, for our networks. We try to gather them to see, is the service we're providing, is it right? Is it the availability we promised, the performance we promised? But often we have the problem that the users still aren't really happy about our performance, so the user experience is not the best. But how to measure that is one of the key topics we at Amazon and also at Alluvio we're focusing on with XLOs, experience level agreements. Therefore, I have Oliver Oehlenberg from Alluvio, which is presenting their approach to understanding XLOs. And I also got my colleagues, Kira and Michael, who are gonna present a holistic view on how to enrich and gather data from the whole company. With these words, Oliver, I would give to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see.
Thank you much from my side. Yeah, let me share my screen so that I can give you a brief idea what XLA is and how Riverbed and especially our Alluvio solution can help you. But let me start a little bit with the introduction. What is behind this word XLA, XLO? There are different views currently outside. So let's start to create a common language for this. XLA was founded, I think already 5-6 years ago from a company called Giata from the Netherlands. And the guys from the Netherlands was really thinking how they can go forward from a normal service approach into something who matters for the end user. Because have something in mind. So what also the slide shows you is there are different aspects also if you are happy or if our users are happy or not. So there is some kind of satisfaction. And the other one is really the experience one. So satisfaction means only you provide a service. Compare this maybe if you go shopping, if you go in any kind of shopping hall or whatever, even in the cheapest one, you get what you may be looking for. So that's the satisfaction. So you get something fulfilled. You get your service fulfilled in this case. But to make it more comfortable for the users, for the guys who going into the shops are currently developing more and more or investing more and more into the experience. A big driver of this is, for example, Apple with the Apple stores, or also now followed with the Microsoft store. So they're building up a huge experience to not only fulfill the purpose to sell something, they would like also to create really a huge experience. And that's exactly what we in IT would like also aim to. So how when we heading into the question how we get the user happy. So we must have both sides in mind. We must have the satisfaction in mind, but also the experience. And both parts together heading exactly in the XLA side. So we have on the left side, in this case, objective data. So if we a good starting point for objective data is, for example, if we're leveraging data directly from the endpoint from the user, so the device where the user is really acting with. And on the other hand, we need some subjective data, so we need some human feedback. So really, what is the feeling or what is the sentiment of a user? And both together brings us in this magic zone here. And this magic zone is nothing else as XLA. So if we speak about XLA, we need some hard facts, so the objective side. And we need also some subjective data, so really data, or let me call it more sentiment data in this case from a user perspective. Giata have created this with a comparison in with our brain, because the brain have two hemispheres, and both hemispheres doing more or less the same, but they're doing it also different. And if we speak about XLA, this is really something who we should keep in mind. So we need the technical data, the objective data, to focusing on the delivery, to focusing what is working well, if the service is running. But on the other hand, we need also the view onto what will be more or less the outcome for the user. How is the user is really feeling if when he is consuming an application. And this is called, in this case, really the XLA side. And if you go a little bit further into this and put this a little bit more together from a data point of view, because also Alluvio, our Alluvio solution is at the end collecting just only data. And if we enrich later on the data, there are every time hard facts or even soft facts who should be combined. So if we think about how we get the users happy from a technical point of view, we must of course know where is maybe the user is located, how is the device is running, if there is maybe some application issues happens, if there is maybe must the user wait pretty long to log into an application. Whatever. So we need really a lot of technical information to make a proper decision for XLA. Think about one scenario. We had a customer called me this a couple of months ago. A user was calling the help desk and was really complaining about the fact that he cannot work with Teams. Teams is too bad. Luckily, this customer had Alluvio Eternity in place, so he had already the data around the objective data. And he figured out in this case, okay, let's check where you are, what is your device, how is the connection from the device, is it stable enough, and so on. And then he figured out pretty easily, oh, this user was sitting at Starbucks. So if you run maybe in a web session from Starbucks, I personally don't expect a good connection. So I'm not complaining about a bad Teams session in this case, but maybe other users don't know this. But this is something who we easily get out from monitoring solution from an endpoint. So in our case, from Eternity, really to identify what is really on a technical side happens with on the user device. The other side, if you look into this kind of data, there's a lot of question around how the user is adapting, for example, an application. So if a user is really following maybe the design who the UX designer have created, or if they're using maybe in device completely different as expected. On the other end, there will be also some options to go in interaction with the user, which means if you let's take this example from Starbucks. So if maybe the technical side will recognize the user is on the Starbucks. The user will open right now Teams and will be maybe start a Teams session. An interaction with the user could be to tell the user, hey, just wait a moment, please be aware your Wi-Fi connection is maybe not stable enough to get the best experience. So really to inform users upfront in some degrees to inform him. There are also different aspects if we think about a little bit further. Right now there is a huge project or huge projects running in a lot of our customers around sustainability. So IT must deliver a sustainable service, but this normally works only if the user will help IT. So if, for example, if the user don't switch off the device overnight, it consumes maybe a lot of unnecessary energy and creates unnecessary carbon footprints in this case. So we can also go in a kind of interaction. So we can also use the sentiment side to inform the user maybe on the next day, hey, we recognized the device was running overnight. There was no process active, nothing was there. But this have created whatever, how many how many tons of cable in this case. So that's one part of how you can interact with a little bit with user, but this brings you not really into the XLA side. The XLA side is more to also to go in interaction with the user. So if we find something on a technical side, so maybe there's whatever, Teams is questioning a lot, or a couple of years ago I have seen this the Internet Explorer was questioning a lot. But the big advantage is now we can confirm a technical scenario with user sentiment. So instead of asking maybe the user how good or bad the IT service is, you can set up a rule where you can define, okay, we recognize whatever Outlook is running badly today, and maybe tomorrow, because the user should maybe sleep a night over a scenario, tomorrow we will ask him interactively when he's next time using Outlook, what is his experience about Outlook? So we can really send out targeted surveys in this case and combine this surveys with objective data in our data set. There are different ways how XLA works. Here's some example how an workflow can be done. So even depends a little bit on the methodology and on the overall goal. So to keep the IT user happy, there are different aspects how we can start. If it's a general improvement from the IT, there's also a different one. But the most common one in the moment is really how enterprises can improve the support desk, the help desk, to make it easier. And in this case, a big step forward is the objective data already, because the support desk must not anymore ask the customer or ask the employee, where are you, what device are you using, which application is facing an issue. All this information are already there. And if we have sent out some sentiment questions to the user before, we can also use this in the service process as well. So there are different aspects. Let me bring this now a little bit more to life. So how it looks like. Let me switch into my live environment. So my live environment. That's our general overview how we show, for example, objective data. And the objective data is visible in this case. I call this every time as a kind of Christmas tree from the top. Everything is green means there's no issue. Everything works as expected. Everything works the same as yesterday or weeks before. But there are maybe some areas, so like in Excel, in this case, if I click on Excel, I get some more information. Hey, there's something wrong. Excel have a lot of wait times right now, so something, maybe a huge calculation is ongoing. And also it hangs, and if I look a little bit more on the history, it happens only within this week. So there's really something growing. On the other hand, let's have a look. There are also other applications who have created a lot of hang times, but everything else looks green. Just only as a short side note, this kind of objective data can easily compared with other scenarios, but even with other customers as well. So everything who is common within our customers can be easily compared. So if for example users complaining about long login time, we can check this. Okay, what is maybe the average of the login time within a specific industry, maybe, or within a specific region? In this case, I selected the global one, so really worldwide. We have a login performance from 43 seconds, who sounds pretty long. And indeed, if we compare this to the average, who all other customers from Alluvio Eternity have is the average is around 60, 70 seconds in this case. So you can really combine your own feeling in this case, or your own data with the data from other customers. Technically, there's a lot of options you can really look into different kind of applications. Matter if this is a web application or a local installed application or even a streamed application. Technically, we identify, for example, how long something needs. So how long the login needs, how long the user needs to wait to perform, in this case, in search account activities to search for a customer record in SAP. And from a technical point of view, we guide the IT department also into the root cause and the domain isolation process, so really to identify if maybe something is wrong in the network, on the application side, or even on the client side. So that's visible here as well. Let me go back to my presentation. Again, there are different views how we presenting the objective data, but there is also the way how you can set up the sentiment, the subjective data. And subjective data in this case is you can create maybe a survey. So if you would like to every quarter a full survey to an user, that's pretty easy. So we can set up some questions. And the user will get, in this case, at a specific time or in a specific time frame, some service displayed. Of course, we're checking if Teams, Zooms, or whatever is running, and the user is doing right now and screen sharing. In this case, it will be hidden. But the user gets some easy word or some easy possibilities to answer on a survey, and this survey will be later on calculated into an NPS score, who can be also compared in this case with the objective and subjective data. But our friends from Amazon will give you a little bit more insights how this can be done from a global view. But that's really as a short idea how this looks like within Eternity. I would like to give you a very brief idea how you can set up a flow. Within the Alluvio solution, and this is also part from Eternity, you can build up runbooks. Runbooks is at the end really in workflow. So you can really think about when something should happen. So I give you the example before, when the user have maybe an issue, you can perform different tasks. And to do this, we can leverage our runbook capability, which means you have in some kind of triggering point. This triggering point could be maybe an application issue, but could be everything else as well. Or this triggering point could be also triggered externally from a different system. So you will see later a little bit the integration from what Amazon is doing. So Amazon can also trigger us in this case, and we can then maybe leverage some data sets. So we can maybe identify, okay, let's identify which applications are impacted. Maybe let's identify also which users or client locations or whatever I have also this issue, and from another point of view, we can also then do some logic stuff. So, for example, in decision point where we just only think about, okay, should we now ask the user for an sentiment? So should we send out the user a simple question? And if the user answers this question badly, so he's not happy, then we maybe execute something directly on the endpoint, or we open a support case or whatever. So what Eternity in this case here is really doing is it provides you all three aspects. We have the aspect of the objective data, who is more or less the hard facts who we're collecting from an endpoint. We have the sentiment data, the subjective data. So every is a feedback from the user, maybe globally, maybe just only in case of an situation. And to define when something should be triggered, we leveraging the runbooks. For example, I was working heavily together with the founders from Giata. Giata have developed during the XLA concept some methodology when a user should be asked. So, one common statement is, for example, don't ask the user when an issue happens. Wait maybe 24 hours or 48 hours to get an proper sentiment information from them. Also, if you would like to, for example, an NPS scoring across the company, don't do this all at once. Giata have pointed out it's important, for example, to send out maybe the questions only to 10% of the users in the first week, and in the second week, the next 10%. To get or to not be impacted from a single little incident who happens maybe today. So there's a lot of stuff who you should keep in mind. We will support you on, but also more important, our partner Amazon will support you there, and our workbook or runbook capability gives us really the flexibility to think about when something should be combined and when not. But with these words, I would like to hand over to my friends from Amazon, who gives you more or less the bigger picture, what else or how everything can be bring together from a global point of view.
Oliver, thank you really much. I think it's a good overview to see and how to understand your internal clients and what's going on at your colleagues probably, or your IT users from within the company. And it's definitely a good approach to understand how is application really working and how is the user really using, how is he getting the business benefit out of the solution. But as we have within companies lots of other applications, maybe also from users, we don't have the control of the device. We're using just web applications or overall different SLAs metrics from infrastructure, from the network or other applications. We have to understand how this holistic view of an XLO is possible. And therefore, I would like to hand over to Kiri to grab this overview we got from Oliver and see how we can also maybe get the holistic view of our company's XLOs.
Okay, thank you, Fabio. Hopefully everyone can see my screen.
Looks good.
Looks good. Okay. So, very good presentation there from Oliver. I think Oliver covered quite a lot of the XLAs. Let me just get my screen up, sorry. So I won't cover again the XLA, SLA, objective, subjective. I think that was covered very much by Oliver. Within Clerical, what we look to is we are also measuring SLAs. So we're measuring the infrastructure. So we're contrasting the infrastructure with the subjective monitoring of the XLAs that come from Eternity. So we're measuring deliverables based on contracts and metrics, and we're measuring the impact on the users at the same time. So objective, subjective. And we do this, we connect with Eternity for those, the desktop subjective and objective information. We also connect to ITSM, and we also connect to any APM or IT infrastructure tools. So we have that very much holistic view. We're using the Eternity data to be enriched, and we can communicate with Eternity, as Oliver said, that we can feedback information, perhaps where there is an infrastructure that is down, we could get the user sentiment from the users via Eternity using one of the run books. What we also do is we collate all of that information together, and we can calculate metrics within our environment and produce what we classify as XLA plus reports. So we're taking XLA, we're enriching it with some of the data from the infrastructure, and then we're presenting those into reports. We can also calculate and aggregate results into key metrics that we want to feed back to the organization. We can also track metrics. So perhaps we want to see if user sentiment improves over time, and we can create some metrics for overall user sentiment, or perhaps for a specific service. So we can do that as well within our environment. So very much integrated with Eternity and working together to produce that holistic view within the organization. So some of the metrics, just 3 examples here of metrics that we could set up within our systems. So we would have a set of metrics that we would measure, which we would provide out of the box for standard organizations. And then there will be custom metrics that you would want to create yourself within your organization. Each organization may have a set of questions they want to ask, etc. So here we're looking at the proactive experience and enhancement rate of the organization, and we're using the infrastructure impacting the UI and some activity scores as well. And we're looking at that as a percentage over time. Again, with the user-centric infrastructure, we can start to measure how upgrades affect the users that we know within the infrastructure. Perhaps from ITSM, there is a change going on, change management, there's an infrastructure outage. There may be user sentiment at that same point in time where we can measure that this change affected these users, this changed their sentiment. And again, the same with incidents that happen within our environment. And there are incidents on the infrastructure side rather than on the desktop user side. So we're comparing now infrastructure and user. So within Clerical, we have the data integration at the bottom here, and you can see that we pull in data from multiple sources. It's not vendor specific. We do pull in data, obviously, and from Eternity and back to Eternity, but we do support other vendors as well. So Dynatrace, ExtraHop, all these other tools that are monitoring our network and our server environment. We also monitor SLAs, so we have contracts within our environment, and we can measure metrics against those contracts and monitor the SLAs that we're producing. And we can also look at the metrics within the XLAs environment. We also produce distributions, so we can actually publish the results to specific users. And we can also monitor and analyze trends, so we can see trends over time where perhaps user sentiment is changing or SLAs are being close to breaching. And we can also bring in additional data from external files, so we can run those surveys within the organization and pull in that data here and look at perhaps an NPS score from a whole organization's perspective, not just the users themselves. And I think Oliver pointed out there, it's quite important that that happens over time. You don't do it all in one day when perhaps you have an incident, and that could change the reflection of your results. And we want to see that over time as well. So quite a lot of our dashboards, we could see over time that the user sentiment is improving, or in some cases perhaps decreasing, and we can obviously address that and do something about that in the future. So within Clerical, as you noticed, I said we have a calculation engine, so we can build flows and we can build calculations within Clerical using a visual designer. So we're importing our data source from the left-hand side there, and we are joining, calculating, filtering, etc., and coming up with a result that we can calculate on the right-hand side there. And if we hit the play button, then obviously we can play this through, and we can see our calculations as we run through those, and we see our source data at the bottom here as it progresses through. So the visual designer is very important and added value that Clerical is bringing to some of the XLA information that is being calculated, and we can combine that also with the SLAs that we said earlier to get that information across. And here's a typical compliance report, so we can see the customers that we're providing, their reaction time, solution time. We can see whether that's red or green in some cases. and we can monitor that over time. So we know what our target is. So again, perhaps we have an SLA that we need to measure the threshold, the target, and how we're performing against that target. And obviously here we see that these are all red. So this organization is not doing very well at the moment. And then we have other reports within there, dashboards, pie charts, etc., that will be coming online soon. So if we think about Eternity and the way that was monitoring the user's experience and the user's desktop, so objective and subjective from the desktop, we're also monitoring that from an infrastructure perspective, and we're putting those two sets of data together, enriching that data, and as I said earlier, we're calling that kind of XLA plus, enriching the data above that. So I think at that point, I'll hand back to Fabio. I think we might have any questions.
Thanks, Hugh. Really interesting to see how it overall works and how it gathers the data from different sources. Maybe now to our guests. Are there so far any questions from your side? I didn't see any in the chats, so I'm just having a quick look. Maybe from my side, a question to you, Kiri, or maybe starting with Oliver. It's a question which addresses both of you. So how long would it take to get a first overview or to roll out this first project, starting with one application, or what would be your suggestion to get such an approach, such an XLO approach?
Yeah, from an Riverbed point of view, so in this case, if you're leveraging the Eternity capabilities, we designed it with a lot of, or we designed it to be very automatically in the beginning. So Eternity will discover a lot of stuff automatically, so which application will be used. And the idea with sentiment, so with surveys, is we also providing some packs in this case. So there are standard questions already implemented where you can, if the agent is deployed, where you can send out surveys within a couple of minutes. So that's not really a question. However, this will not bring you in a huge scenario to run a better XLA approach, but it's a starting point to get the first view. If you have the first view, then you must really think about what should be next, what else must be maybe asked, and if you would like really build up a workflow. So Kieran have showed the workflow from the analysis point of view. I showed the workflow from the acting point of view. We recognize there is an issue. What should be done? Should IT informed? Should be IT be informed? Should a question sent be out to the user to confirm something? Should a ticket be open? So that doesn't matter. For this scenario, we also providing some templates, but at the end, we must align us to the processes of our customers, and this needs a little bit time. But if you have seen, it's low code, it's drag and drop. It's pretty easy to bring this together. So from this point on, it's yes, there's for sure something to do, and you must also really think about what you would like to do. But our starting point is very, very fast.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the same for Clarica as well, Fabio. I think there is some time where you need to start measuring first, get some baseline. You need to understand what your end goals are, because you need to know what metrics you are going to measure. If you're measuring SLAs, then you will have those already documented in a contract. So those are fairly straightforward. We'll be providing metrics out of the box. We'll also be providing metrics for the XLAs out of the box, but every organization will have their own questions that they need to ask their customers, and we can work with, say, Eternity, as Oliver said there, to get those questions so they pop up on the user's desktop, or we could send out a survey and integrate with the survey system, bring that data into Claricor. So I think there is a lead time on it. You're going to have to get the data first, and also connecting to your infrastructure. There are APIs that we would need to connect to infrastructure and start pulling in that data, and then start calculating to make sure that we're meeting the metrics or the goals that we've already considered and put into place.
Maybe one sentence from my side here. So it's from my experience, the best practice is really start with an isolated environment. In this case, really to think about. So we have some customer who's starting right now the sentiment capabilities with sustainability project, really to get and own his own experience around the interaction with the users, because especially here in Germany, a lot of users are afraid to answer pop-ups, if I would like to say this way. So there is something to do upfront. So really to think about what is the best way to introduce even this new technologies to user. Maybe you also answer, you don't use the capability from eternity with this message next to the block what I showed you before. Maybe you integrate with your existing chat system. That's also possible.
Yeah.
So therefore it's really important for an XLA project is let's start in a, let me call this isolated environment, really in controlled environment, make your own experience. It's not a technical issue in this case. It's more or less to ensure that the user will follow you, that the user will adapt this to be successful. I have a US customer, and this is he have created really an internal video to show the end users, show the employees what they are doing and why they are this doing. And this was really successful. So that was more or less an advertising within the company, an advertising video. Maybe that's also a good starting point to do this.
Good input. Really good. So maybe one question I just got is, who are the main stakeholders of a solution like that? So who is mainly working with a solution like Alluvio, and also then later on Claricor?
Yeah, unfortunately, it depends heavily. So mostly, the most people or the most customers in Germany starting from a desktop point of view. So there will be an head of workspace and VP of workspace, but that doesn't matter who this guy is called. So the guy who is in charge of the workspace, because that's we also recognizing more and more customers bringing every standard application, but also the sometimes already the network together on the workspace side. So an workspace manager must get the full view how the experience of an employee is. That's one approach. Another approach is you can leverage exactly the same technology for external people. So maybe for your customers. But in this case, it will be not anymore the workspace owner. In this case, will be maybe whatever, the head of sales in the worst case. So it's real. This XLA is a very wide topic. It depends heavily, but the most common part is it should be supported from the top. So normally it is successful if this is driven from a C-level point of view. When the C-level is pointing out, we must improve our NPS score, regardless internal or externally, then this project is having a good starting point. So from my point of view, if C-level have created initiatives around this, then there will be also the VPs supporting this, and from there it's very easy to go forward. It's very hard if we start from the bottom. So if only the service desk will drive this, because we need the support in this case from the user. The user must answer. So otherwise we only rely on objective data.
Yeah, and I think from the Claricor perspective, we're coming at it from a slightly different angle, because we're starting with measuring SLAs. So we're at the C level, we're measuring SLAs, SLAs don't tell the full story because the users can still be unhappy, even though the SLA dashboard is green. Everything's, fine. IT are happy, but the users are not happy. So it's kind of what we describe as a watermelon effect, where you have the dashboards are all green on the outside, but on the inside, all the users are unhappy and red. So, we're coming at it from a different perspective, but we're joining in the middle there, so we're getting that full holistic approach.
That's great input. I hope this answers the question so far. So do we have any further questions from the audience? Not so far. But to sum it maybe a bit up, it's always about getting the context, I think, to understand how my IT is working, to understand the context, the causality of my IT, to really bring SLAs on the one hand and XLOs on the other hand together to maybe drive the IT value for the business, and to really understand how is not only an application performing, but how is the user performing with the application, and how is he working with it? How is he, what is his gut telling him about this application? How can he work? Is everything ready to be used when he needs IT at his side? Maybe that's the question or the task we have at Amazon, also at Alluvio, Riverbed, to support IT companies understanding their business and therefore also understanding their IT so that they can really work together, I think. By looking at the time, we still got 1 minute left. If there are no more questions, maybe Kiri, Oliver, do you have one famous final words?
Not really. So I think we have highlighted today really a little bit how XLA is created and what is behind it. I can only recommend start with a small little project, get you some experience around this. It will change really, especially the adoption side from the users, and the users will be more happy. If you would like to learn a little bit more about this, have a look on our YouTube channel here from Riverbed. I know Amazon is also doing something there. There are a lot of videos around XLA. That's one topic. But as I highlighted before, I was working together with the founder from XLA, with Marco Gianotta, and he have written a very interesting book, even in German. There's an English and German version out there. If you are really in the beginning of the journey, have a look into this. Marco have very nice insights into this and he's looking from a completely different angle. So he's not looking from a technical point of view into this. He's more looking from how I can drive these initiatives within my company. So even from let me call this political side and tactical side within the company, and that's that's what I can really recommend. And of course, from last words from my side, already happy Christmas.
Nice, thanks, Kiri.
Yes, I think Oliver summed it up well there. I think happy customers always is a very important thing. And obviously, as Oliver said there, start small, maybe take one service at a time and progress slowly. There is lots of information out there about Claricor. We're starting to publish some marketing around Claricor, and if anyone wants any more information, then they can contact myself or anyone on the team, and we can maybe have some one-to-one sessions and take it further, take it to the next steps.
Yeah, that's good. So thanks Oliver, thanks Kiri, thanks Michael also for being here, and thanks to the audience for taking the time. I know before Christmas it's always a hustle to get free time and to get the concentration on a webinar. So thanks for your time. And as Oliver said, happy Christmas and happy New Year. Looking forward to hearing from you. Have a great day. Bye
Bye-bye.
together.
Bye.